So let's just say that you've already completed your setup and you say, hey, I got my truck. And now what do I need to do next? So what you need to actually do next is go to the Secretary of State for your particular state. So if you're looking to set up your company in Texas, in Arkansas, wherever you're looking to set up, Georgia, wherever, you need to go to the Secretary of State, complete the application, and pay your state fees so that you can get your articles of organization. That means that you're able to do business in that particular state. Can you do business in multiple states? Absolutely. You just need to make sure that you are registering your actual company in that particular state as a foreign entity, because you've already set up your company within your particular state. So I'm in Georgia. I've already set up in Georgia. So if I decide that I want to go into Texas and do business, then I need to set up a foreign entity in Texas because I already have an existing business in Georgia. That's just implying that I'm actually doing business across state line. So just make sure that you actually register with the Secretary of State. All right. Then, like I told you, you're going to have the articles of organization. It's going to actually help you with this with the Secretary of State. So you'll be able to go through those steps. And once you've completed the application, then from there, they're going to help you with getting your articles of organization. Sometimes it says articles of corporation or something like that. But either way, you need those to ensure that you do business. Of course, if you're setting up like business credit or you're looking to open your business bank account, which you definitely need to do, again, you need your articles of organization as well as your EIN. So once you have completed the Secretary of State and you got your approval, and the reason why you want to start with the Secretary of State, of course, is because you want to make sure that no other person has your actual company name. So you want to make sure that you are doing business with your particular name and no one else is doing business with the same name. So then once you've completed that, then you can go into getting your EIN number with the IRS. And at this point, you want to make sure, and I'm going to just kind of give you a couple tips. If you have not already, you can always go back and do this, but just for the sake of understanding, because we deal with business credit as well, you want to make sure that on the initial that you set up everything as if you were getting corporate credit, because eventually down the line, you want to start moving in that direction. That way you're not using your own money. But more importantly, when you're setting up your company, you want to make sure that you do not, don't set up a company name that says ABCD Trucking, because trucking is considered a risky name. As you can see, Palace Trucking Academy is a trucking school. So that's all we do with that particular entity. But more importantly, let's just say that you are doing your trucking company setup. Just make sure it says ABCD Transportation, Logistics, or something of the sort. Do not do ABCD Trucking. Do not do Quinita's Trucking. Don't associate your name, because of course, as you go along, you may have people with, and hopefully you don't, but maybe there's some legality or some issue that comes up. Don't have your name associated. That way it's associated with the trucking. That's it. And don't associate it with your personal name. Okay. Then you will transition to your EIN. The other thing I would tell you is also make sure that you do not use your personal home address if you can avoid it. If you can actually either get a virtual address that is reportable as a lendable entity, you want to make sure that you get that set up as well. Have a business email address that says info@ptai.com if that's your company name, but do not have abcd@gmail.com, because of course that is going to be a red flag. One, you just want to be able to set your business up completely as a corporation versus this is my business that I'm casually doing. Okay. So hopefully those tips help you as you are going along. The other thing is I would separate my telephone number. And the reason why, we'll get into this as we go down the road, but you'll understand why. And I'll reiterate that information again. So the EIN number, you want to make sure that you set up the EIN with the IRS, because of course, tax purposes. So you want to make sure that you have your EIN number. Make sure when you set this information up, they're going to give you a PDF at the end of setting up with the EIN. This is free, so it's not something that you have to pay for. The Secretary of State, you do have to pay for, and every state is different. So you just have to kind of go to your state to determine the amount. But the EIN is free. So this is something that you can actually do. Go to irs.gov and you'll be able to get the EIN. When you get to the end, make sure that you print off the PDF that they give you, because that shows your EIN number. And you are going to need that documentation as you go along through this process. All right. So you already know, go get your Secretary of State, register to get the articles of organization. Then you move forward to get your EIN. And then let's talk about the cost to be a boss. All right. So now that you've gotten your EIN and your Secretary of State set up, you're going to now need to kind of transition. A lot of people say, well, when do I mean, how does this process work? How many, like, when do I start this or start that? It's one of those things where it's not a step one, a step two, step three. It's more of a, you kind of do it back to back all together, if you will. So even with this information that I'm telling you about, you should want to do this kind of all together. So it shouldn't be a step one or step two. It's a, okay, I did my Secretary of State. It's a checkoff list versus a step one, step two. Okay. All right. So then you're going to need your authority, which is your MC and DOT number. The MC number is $300. The DOT number is free. So with the MC number, of course, this is your motor carrier number. This is going to help you to be identified as an actual trucking company that can move freight across state lines. So that's why you need the motor carrier number. A freight broker also needs a motor carrier number as well. And then the other part is, so even if you're a non-CDL setup and you want to move freight across state line, you need the DOT number. So you're going to pay everybody that gets a or sets up a trucking company, you need to get your authority. So this is $300. This is for your motor carrier number and your DOT number. The DOT number is free. If you are only staying in the state of, let's say I'm in Georgia and I only move freight in Georgia, I will not need the authority, the motor carrier number. So you won't have to pay the $300. You would only get a DOT number. All right. I hope that helps somebody. The next thing is you're going to need a unified carrier registration or a UCR, which is about $42. You need this, and this is something that is done annually. So you have to get this completed every year. Then you're going to have a BOC3, which is your blanket of coverage. So let's just say you live in the state of Georgia and you are, let's say a legal matter happens and they need to get documentation to you. You are designating a company or entity to intercept those documentations on your behalf. This is something that's paid for $30. And like I said, even with the freight brokerage, you need the UCR and the BOC3 set up as well. The next thing that you're going to have is your IRP, which is your International Registration Plan. With the International Registration Plan, this is for you to get your apportioned plates. Now, I'm going to pause here a little bit so that you can really take some notes here, take copious notes. With the IRP, a lot of the times the people you'll go to the DMV and you're excited about your trucking company and you're like, hey, I want to get my plates. And you just go to the DMV, they're going to give you some plates. And now you got plates, but it's the wrong plates. So instead of you going through the process to get the wrong plates, you want to make sure that, one, if you're going to stay within the state that you are working in, so let's say, again, you're in the state of Georgia, and the only thing you're doing is being in the state of Georgia only, you're not going to Texas, you're not going to tip over to Alabama or North Carolina or anything else, then you don't need to go to the process of getting an IRP. You can actually go to the DMV. You'll only need your DOT number, the UCR BOC3, and you can actually do all of this and stay within the state of Georgia, okay? If you plan to go across state line, then you're going to need the IRP set up and you're going to need to have the apportioned plates, not the regular plates that they give you that's 33,000 gross vehicle weight rating and over, okay? There's a difference in the plates. So with the IRP, which is again, your International Registration Plan, you want to make sure that you put at least $2,000 to the side. That doesn't mean that you're going to pay the $2,000. It could mean you're going to pay $1,000. You could pay $1,700. It doesn't matter. It's based on your state tax and your vehicle. It's based on the value of your truck and your state tax. So you want to make sure that you have the money available. So just kind of put that number in your head. If it's less, great, then you can allocate those funds somewhere else. All right, then you're going to have the International Fuel Tax Agreement, which is called IFTA. This is an annual process, and I'm going to back up again. With the IRP, this is annually done. So if your plate says October, you want to do the renewal, you want to say about 45 days before October 31st. So if it's October, you want to do it in November. In September. If it's December, do it in November, so on and so forth. But just make sure that you do your annual renewal ahead of time so that you're not out on the road with expired tags, because that's going to cause you to get a fine. All right. Then you're going to have IFTA, again, which is your International Fuel Tax Agreement. This is going to actually be something that you do annually as well. This is the sticker decal to imply that you can actually go across state line. And basically with this is a quarterly tax, and we'll talk about that even further. But with that being a quarterly tax, that means that you have to actually report the states that you went in and out of, the states that you got fuel in or did not get fuel, and the miles that you're actually going in and out of those states. So January, February, March, April 31st, you have to report by April 31st. I'm sorry, April 30th, not April 31st. If you go to 31st, then it's crazy. But anyway, April 30th. All right. And then from April, May, June, July 31st, you're going to report for the second quarter. And then July, August, September, October 31st, you're going to report for the third quarter. And then October, November, December, January 31st, you will report for the fourth quarter. And that will cover your 4 quarters in your year for IFTA. Every year, December, before December 31st, you have to actually renew the IFTA sticker decal. And this is something you want to actually do ahead of time as well, because you got to remember every trucking company is going to be trying to get their IFTA stickers during that time. So you want to make sure that you are ahead of the game. Okay. All right. This can be free to $12. It depends on the state that you're actually in. Every state is going to be different. So some states are nice, some are not. But just make sure that you understand that the IFTA has to be completed. And we help you with doing the quarterly IFTA as well. All right, you're going to actually need insurance, commercial insurance. I highly recommend that you get multiple quotes. Not only do you get multiple quotes, but we also recommend that you steer away from insurance companies that are going to basically be a pitfall for you as a new company, because some companies will not pay their premium. Well, like say, for instance, you're paying your premiums and things like that, and then there's a claim that happened. They may get into a little stink where they will not pay them. So I'll just recommend that you check out. If you're not for sure, you can ask us before you actually get the insurance, because also you want to make sure that your insurance company is very aware of commercial insurance, because there's some companies that are just dabbling into the insurance industry and they are not properly setting you up. When you're going through this process, it can take 21 days for the FMCSA to actually receive the information. And we'll talk about the document that is required for your insurance agent to submit. So you need to know this information so that you can confirm that your insurance agent submit the documentation, because if not, it won't allow your authority to go active. And this is going to only hold up your process. So to help you to understand what you should and should not be doing, the insurance part is going to be based on, of course, your credit. They're going to look at how long you've been in business, so on and so forth. It's a lot of factors that go with the insurance. Just make sure that you get multiple quotes before you do a final pay down, because again, and I'm just going to tell you, you're going to pay insurance maybe a couple times, a couple payments before your authority goes active. That's why I say it's not a 1, 2, 3 step. You can't get the insurance quote without having a DOT number. So you need to do one. It's not a step-by-step. It's a checkoff list. So you just need to make sure that you are completing everything on the checkoff. All right. Then the other thing you're going to have is a heavy highway tax, which is your $22.90 that is paid to the IRS. This is done annually. So every July 1, you can actually reach out to us. Hey, I need to do my $22.90. This is something that's going to help you. Of course, you have to have this. It's not going to, you can't steer away from it. It has to be in your file in order to even get your apportioned plates. So a lot of this stuff, as you can see, you can't have something without the other thing. The $22.90 is, they charge a $19.99 electronic file. You can't just do this. It has to be electronically filed. And the tax is $550 every July 1. It's prorated. So let's give, for an example, I just had a client last night that I completed. This individual, it's September right now. We submitted her for September. So that means that her prorated amount was like $487. So it's not the full $550. So it depends on when you actually get started throughout that year to determine how much you're going to actually pay. So this is a prorated amount. You're going to also be able to use this link for a load board. Of course, it's 30 days free. However, eventually you will not want to be on a load board. Hopefully you'll build relationships and understand how to navigate the industry by building the relationships. And of course, through our coaching and mentoring, you can learn and understand how to actually do that process as well. So these are some costs that are associated to being a boss. Of course, if you're looking to get permits and you're traveling into certain states, there's some states you definitely want to know that you have to have permits in, because if not, you'll get fined, or they will charge you. They'll send, of course, the payment to you where you are actually being charged. But you want to make sure that you have permits for states that you frequently travel that requires permits. Of course, your SCAT code. This is typically for carriers and freight brokers. If you're doing any type of intermodal or anything like that, the freight broker usually have this as well as a carrier. And this is about $82 and it's done annually. You need a drug consortium. Depending on the insurance company, it might come with a package, but your drug consortium basically is a company that helps you with basically getting your drug test done. And this is something that has to happen in order for you to go through the clearinghouse. That's a requirement for all companies, and we'll talk about that even further. If you need a logo or truck decal to go, of course, for the professionalism to go on the side of your truck to imply that who your company is. You want to make sure this stuff is done correctly, because you don't want to write on the side of a cardboard box like you probably have seen people. All it is a magnet for the DOT office to pull you into the weigh station. So you definitely want to make sure that you have your logo and decal and your company name, your DOT numbers and all of that. And you want to make sure the numbers are at a where if I was standing off maybe 10 or 20 feet off or something, that I can actually see your numbers. You don't want them to be too little, because as you probably seen going by those weigh stations, they got those cameras. What they're looking for is, one, to make sure that you don't have any flat tires, things like that, to see if of course your DOT and MC number, make sure you're compliant, things like that. So you want to make sure that you have the proper decal on the side of your truck. Of course, professionalism is everything, and you want to look and present yourself a certain way. If you need any marketing or branding, of course, the marketing branding is going to be, of course, for any freight brokerages, things like that. You can reach out to us. We can help you with your website, logos, anything pertaining to your setup as a company. We can actually assist you. All right. These are documents that you're going to actually need. I know a lot of times people are like, oh my gosh, this is so much. Yes, it's a lot, but it's worth it. Anything worth having is going to definitely take you through all the challenges and loopholes. You need your driver's license, your certificate of insurance, proof of address. You need at least 3 of those. You need your UCR for some states. Some states also require that your certificate of insurance has a updated cert holder with their information. So like Connecticut, they require a updated cert holder, and that's something that you will learn as you continue going through this process. That's something that we can help you with as well. And then we, of course, recommend that any documentation that is sent, we send it to QS Harris 2122 at TDSJ enterprise.com, and we want you to send it as a PDF. So these are the required documents in order for you to actually submit. You want to make sure that your utility bills is at least within 30 days. Your bank statement, they're only looking at the first page, of course, for the address purposes, because basically what they're looking for is companies or entities that you've done business with that require certain like verification information to ensure that you are who you say you are. So that's why they're willing to take a utility bill, light bill, gas bill, water bill, a bank statement, your registration from your personal vehicle to show you paid your taxes. All of those things are definitely something that you want to submit. You want to make sure with your vehicle or your tractor or whatever means of transportation that you're looking to get started with the trucking industry, you want to make sure that the title is in that state's name. Some states does not require the title to be in your state's name. Texas is one of them that don't require you to change the title into the state name, but Georgia requires your state name. If you do not have the title in Georgia state titled, then what you're going to actually do is go to the tag office to get that updated. They're going to give you a tag receipt or a title receipt, and that's what you're going to actually use until you actually get the physical title in your hand if you don't have it when you're going through that process. All right. So hopefully that information help you. It's going to be a lot. Be patient. This is not a wham bam, hurry up, ma'am type situation. All right, so as I already told you, your DOT is going to be $300. You'll go through the registration to get set up with the DOT. Some people already know how to do that, which is totally fine. However, it's when you start getting to the moments of getting your IRP, IFTA, and 2290 kind of get weird for you. All right. So again, like I told you, with the MC, it's going to take 21 days to actually go through the FMCSA. So it's going to be a process. So it's important for you to not delay. And again, don't do step 1, step 2, step 3. You want to make sure that you are going check off. Just do this. If I do my authority, I need to make sure the next step I go ahead and do my BOC3, my UCR, my, pay my insurance, all of that. All right. So this is something that you want to make sure that you get done immediately. Don't wait and delay, because again, I know some people kind of like, oh, my money is funny. You want to just make sure that you have all this stuff up front. This is why I'm going through this process, to help you to understand what you actually need. So again, we talked about your insurance agent has to submit something to the FMCSA, which is the BMC 91 form. All insurance agents should know this. I'm going to also tell you that if you are a power only, that means you do not have a trailer. You need to make sure that your insurance agent also includes trailer interchange or non-trailer interchange, because what will happen is if you do not have the non-trailer interchange, what's going to happen is when you get ready to actually start hauling for individuals or brokerages, then they're going to ask you, do you have the non-trailer interchange? If you do not have it, it's going to delay your process. So don't go through this hiccup. Okay. So make sure that your insurance, that's why I said your insurance agent needs to know what's going on. So this is something that you want to make sure has been submitted, and not only that, that they're knowledgeable and understand about the trailer interchange. Okay. All right, we talked about the UCR, which is Unified Carrier Registration. It's a federally mandated program that replaces the single state registration system. So everybody has to have the UCR submitted, especially if you're going across state line. The BOC3 filing of agents for service is a federal filing in the United States that assigns a process agent to accept legal documents on your behalf of transportation or logistics company in the state in which your company is authorized to do business, just like I just told you. Okay, so that's why you have to do the BOC3. So you want to understand why you're doing a lot of the things that you're doing. All right. If you are going to be traveling in New York, Kentucky, Oregon, New Mexico, these states require permits. We talked about that before as well. So it doesn't matter if you're going to frequent. If you are 18,000 pounds and over, you need a New York HUT sticker. We can actually assist you with that. So if you are a straight truck that transport any fuel, you must have an AFC permit. If you're in Kentucky and you're over 59,999 pounds, you need a KYU number. And also you need to know with the KYU, this is also a quarterly submittal. So if you don't, they're going to charge you $500 and you're going to be mad. Okay. So just make sure that you get the permits that you need, especially if you know you're going to go to New York, any states past New York, you need a HUT sticker because you're going to go through it. All right. Oregon requires a permit as well as New Mexico. Oregon has a surety bond that has to be paid as well for $2,000. If you do not get these permits, Oregon is one of those states you can't even get fuel in the state if you do not have the proper permits. So you definitely want to make sure that you are meeting these requirements. Okay.